Jameer down to the 10. Jameer to the 5. Jameer to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
And off Berry. Surge to the left side. Breaks the tackle. And he will take it in. Touchdown!
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. That's what I'm talking about. It is caught. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Oh, baby, what a play that time. Aidan Hutchinson read that and blew it up. Big time stand by that defense.
All right, welcome in Lions Gray Main's Pride. My name is Chris Stone. I'm at castahead.net. And the gentleman on the right side of your screen, the Chief Intelligence Officer of Lions Optimism. Let's just keep it in the lane. Dr. Brent Kreider, DBC. Man, finally we have some football. And in the afternoon on a Sunday. Kind of weird getting up early and doing this whole thing. Nope, you're muted.
Yep, there we go. The Lions don't play a lot on 1 o'clock
That's what
Sunday
happens.
games.
It's part of
That's
having
what
a
happens
successful
when you
team,
win.
yeah.
That's exactly right. I think we have for the remainder of the season, we have the Giants and the Steelers at 1 o'clock. The rest of the games are going to make their way to national TV somehow. This game has a really interesting feel to it. We're coming off a bye.
Yep.
Historically, teams, Dan Campbell led teams come back from a bye and they're just as strong as what they were when they went on the bye. So, I'm not worried about the team coming into this game and not being prepared to play. I fully believe that the Lions are going to be extremely focused. They know Dan Campbell's message, which he's been giving us all week, right? The teams are going to separate themselves, boys. It's time to separate the women and children from the men on the football field. And I got a feeling that they're going to come out today really ready and fired up to play.
Speaking of getting fired up, Brent, before we go to this, the blueberries.
Blueberries.
We got the blueberries. It just feels right, and I don't know what our record is. I'm sure we can pull some sort of data from somewhere. We don't have all the mains in the backstage today. The folks are traveling and certainly couldn't make it. So Brent and I are running, with scissors here, ladies and gentlemen. But it'd be good to know what the record is for the Lions in their blueberries, which is a great uniform, as well as the Motor City Muscle black uniforms. But if you're watching anywhere, this show is live. So we are live here on TikTok. We're also live on YouTube as well as Facebook. And so and X as well. So if you're hanging out and you're just kind of getting ready for the game, you're kind of licking your chops, ready to see Aidan Hutchinson with his pockets full of cash, ready to just chase off the edge and maybe smash a few quarterbacks on his way to more money. Let us know, where you're joining us from, what your prediction is for the game. Brent and I are going to be talking about that kind of stuff. We're going to be talking about sort of our keys to the game. We'd love to know yours, what you'd like to see. Do you want to see J-Mo, break out for the first time? Ladies and gentlemen, J-Mo, for whatever reason, is just a huge topic in the last few weeks as far as his usage is concerned. Would you like to see Brian Branch come back with a chip on his shoulder? Let us know what you want to see, and we appreciate you joining here on TikTok. Jax MC2 and others that are joining here on TikTok. Let us know, and we'll do that. Brent, I'm sorry I cut you off, man. Wanted to know a few more of your keys on the game, sir.
Well, the Lions are, in fact, 7-1, Chris, in blueberry games.
Okay.
The lone loss was against the Dallas Cowboys in 2023 on a game that I believe we had a tackle eligible issue.
Oh, yeah.
So conceivably, the Lions are pretty hard to beat when they go blueberry. Now, you may remember the Rams complaining about the blueberries and how the background, they couldn't see the players, and he threw a pick because he couldn't see the player. And so it ought to be a good game for the Lions to go 8-1 in the all blueberries. In terms of keys to the game, we know J.J. McCarthy has not been super impressive. And what I did just for fun was I looked at some historical comparisons to some of the great quarterbacks that started their careers in the way that JJ sort of started his career here. And believe it or not, statistically, he's right in between John Elway and Peyton Manning in terms of completion percentages and yards passed and what goes into that. So I do reserve any concern that I would have with him starting to get his stride. If he is able, with the receiving core, with Addison and JJ, if he's able to get in rhythm, because we know they've got a really good running back who's a receiver and runner. I think that's the worst case scenario. Do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. I do not think that JJ McCarthy is gonna hit his stride here by any stretch, and Ford Field is going to be loud. I got rid of my tickets this week because I have to travel to Texas tonight for a business meeting. But the reality is that JJ McCarthy has yet to play anything other than one quarter in the NFL of good football. So, having said that, the Lions are probably going to feast. He has not played in an environment like he's going to play today. He played at Chicago, played well in that fourth quarter, but they were only down. They were playing the Chicago Bears, who unfortunately for them were not able to put up some points. I don't think that's going to be the case for the Lions today. So the Lions are going to score. The Vikings are going to have difficulty moving the football consistently. And if they are able to get pressure, if they are able to take advantage of, some beat up offensive tackles who both look like both may play today, by the way, Darashaw and the other tackle, both are questionable. So it's likely that they're going to have their offensive tackles there, Chris. So trying to, boil the ocean here, but the bottom line is that the Lions are rested. The Lions are getting healthy, and the Vikings are in a situation where they've got a rookie quarterback, even though it's his second year. He didn't play his first year. And they're going to really struggle in that hostile Ford Field environment with a defense that's getting healthy.
Brent, breaking news. The only reason why I'm interrupting you for the second time, yes, I'm keeping track of that, but we do have some breaking news. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our inactives. These just came in hot off the wire. Eric Hallett, Quentin Jefferson, Kirby Joseph, which we knew was going to be out, as well as Craig Reynolds. Those two we knew of. Jamie Robinson is also off, and Mekhi Wingo, who always ends up on the inactive report every single week. Brent, this looks pretty sparse, but some names missing from here that we thought, possibly could be inactive. One is Taylor Decker, so really happy to see Deck going to be back at left tackle starting. Sione Vaki, who was also questionable from the practice report earlier this week, is in fact active, so you're going to see Vaki in where you would normally see Craig Reynolds, who's out here, and of course we're getting Terrion Arnold back, and so this kind of leads me to talk about the secondary. Brent, I wanted to roll this over to you, but there's folks. We appreciate you joining us. This is a live show, and Joe Dexter, Let's Go Lions, hashtag FTV. I'm not going to say out loud, which I know what that acronym is about. Joe, we appreciate you joining us again, my friend. And another friend in the house, Jim Fuse of Fusion Marketing. Thank you, will do. Looking forward to seeing Daniels play. This must be a response from an earlier. Okay, so this is not Jim. This is actually Karen. Jim's driving. They're on their way to D.C. So Jim is going to be our correspondent from D.C. when the Lions play the Commanders. So we'll be interested to see it. And this is why Jim's responding the way he is. Tell Jim, go Commanders. Who are the Commanders playing today, by the way? I'm not paying attention to other teams. I just have one team to pay attention to, Brent. We don't know. I mean, we need a cheering guide. But, folks, we appreciate you joining. Please let us know your thoughts on how you feel the game's going to go today. Maybe your keys for the game and a prediction. And I will take a sip of coffee here and try to roll this over to you, Brent. But we talk about pretty much, you're talking about McCarthy. And we're going to get into McCarthy because he's going to be obviously Michigan guy and national championship pedigree. So we're going to roll into that. And a lot of people want to talk about this. But my key to the game, and I want to roll this to you, Brent, is this is shaping up to be a chess match in the secondary. We've got Terrion that's back healthy after missing 2 weeks with that shoulder. Brian Branch is coming off a suspension with extra time to heal that ankle, and reportedly he's got a chip the size of Ford Field on his shoulder. But the million-dollar question, folks, is how do we handle the Vikings receiving core? This is the one thing that makes me incredibly scared. Justin Jefferson, obviously elite, game wrecker, but you can't sleep on Jordan Addison. Since coming back from his suspension, Addison's put up over 300 yards and 2 scores in just 4 games. But get this, Brent, I looked this up. 43% of his production has come on deep balls. So the kid is cooking, and we saw how Calvin Shepard bracketed Jamar Chase and T. Higgins against Cincinnati, and it basically forced their role players to beat us. So do we deploy the same strategy today? Do we let Amik Robertson shadow Justin Jefferson like he did before, just with a little safety help over the top? Do we play sides, and sort of, now Brian Branch could get, single coverage on TJ Hawkinson, the former Lion. He's now wearing purple, and Branch wants to send that message. So Brent, what is your read on this secondary puzzle? Do we bracket their top 2 and then just dare KOC to beat us with the role players? Or do we trust our guys? Maybe some of the guys from the Legion of Whom in more traditional stuff.
I think Shep's game plan that he employed against Tampa is precisely the game plan that he's going to employ against the Vikings. And that is there's going to be a combination of coverages. There's going to be a combination of man-to-man and zone coverages trying to confuse J.J. McCarthy. And we're getting healthy. We've got Maddox in today. We've got Amik Robertson, Terrion Arnold. The depth now, players that, our whole secondary against the Bucs were, players that aren't even going to be playing today in effect. And so you'll have Branch and Thomas Harper probably starting with Hallett, maybe getting some play time in certain scenarios. But the reality is that you've got your starters, except for DJ, who's going to be eligible to come back here in a couple weeks from injured reserve. And I think Mike, good morning, by the way. Thanks for letting us know that Hallett, because the list came up real quick there, but Hallett is inactive. So that tells you that none of the 4 players that were playing a couple weeks ago are going to be out there today, which is, good, because the Lions, despite playing Tampa the way that they played them, the Lions have their starters with the exception of Kirby Joseph, which is not insignificant when you're talking about the receiving core that they have. And Kirby is, if you all remember, in Minnesota, he made the interception that locked up the championship year before last against the Vikings, and he's always played really well against the Packers and Vikings specifically. So that is not an insignificant player to be down. But the question you ask about what are they going to do? They're going to mix up their coverages. They're going to try to present J.J. McCarthy with a lot of different looks to confuse him, and then getting pressure up the middle, taking advantage of the banged up tackles. I think those are really the things for us to look for today. Can we take advantage of getting that pressure on McCarthy and forcing him? And look, I got to tell you, without Darashaw and what was the other tackle's name, Mike, maybe you can help me. The past few weeks, the Vikings quarterbacks have been just destroyed by the opposing team's pass rush. And I have rarely seen quarterbacks take the types of beatings that the Vikings quarterbacks have taken these first few weeks of the season. So for them to protect J.J. McCarthy and give him an opportunity to find those big play receivers and Hawkinson, as you talked about, is going to be one of the biggest keys to the game. How well can they keep J.J. McCarthy upright, and Aidan's fired up, coming off signing the largest guaranteed money for a defensive end in
Hopefully he
NFL
won't
history.
trip over his money bag on the way to sacking McCarthy today. That's yeah. But I mean, I think that's going to be a big storyline, right? Is that you've got the most guaranteed money for a non-quarterback ever. That's obviously going to be a storyline. There's going to be lots of cameras on 97 today, plus the Michigan connection. So you're going to see that storyline often today. And before I forget, Brent, we have to talk about the Minnesota Vikings inactives. Yeah, we are playing another team today, so it's part of the thing. And unfortunately for Dan Keener, who is hopefully watching somewhere in the hills of Tennessee, but
Pigeon Forge.
There will be no Jeff Okudah revenge game today. Jeff Okudah is inactive for the Minnesota Vikings, and just the name Jeff Okudah, just everyone just like shivered a little bit in Lions fandom right there because Listen, in order to play in the NFL, especially at that position, you've got to be really good, right? And so he's making a career of himself. Now, is he ever going to live up to that draft choice? No. I don't think so. And also, Brent, before we get too far, I wanted to say thank you to Unbreakable Beauty on TikTok. We appreciate the badges, the gifters. We're not TikTokers, but we decided to go live on TikTok today, and we've got a bunch of people watching over there. So give us a shout out there over on TikTok, and maybe we'll tick some more talks over there with our live stream. And if this is your first time seeing Lions Gray Mains, we go live every Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern, for a more traditional podcast, breaking down, have a little more organized. I might not have my hat on backwards. It's a little more buttoned up. Sit up straight. No, I'm kidding. But we do have fun there. We do go live. So if you want to join us there, we love to talk about all of this stuff on all of the platforms. But we do a pregame, and that's what we're here for. So if you've got a prediction, let us know what you think the score is going to be. It looks like we have. Do we have a prediction yet? Yes, we have a prediction from our friend Wanda, who's in the house. Wanda's prediction is 27-14 Lions. Okay, I mean that's. Listen, I think I saw spreads as much as 9.5. So, but I think I'm still seeing 8.5 at a lot of places here. But give us your prediction. That's a decent prediction. I know for us, Brent, we the Gray Mains did our predictions, and I'll pull those up really quickly. Our predictions for the week. I don't know. Dan's got himself in first place, Brent. I don't know if he's cooking the numbers or what's happening here, but this is insanity. But he's predicting 31-17 Lions. Brent, you're saying 38-9. Brent's thinking this thing is going to be over by halftime, apparently. Mike, who's joining us backstage, and thank God for that because we would be lost without him. 28-14 is his prediction. So I think that was similar. 27-14 was Wanda's prediction, so very close there. And my prediction is 30-14, your Detroit Lions. So we do have a prediction that's come in from Jim Fuse. He says 34-14 Lions. Nobody's picking the Vikings. So, okay. And Joe Dexter says Jeff Okudah has been inactive since 2021. Oh, my God. Yeah, Jared Goff loves him some Brian Flores, 35-14. Now, Goff, Goff hasn't had, a consistent statistical success. He's won. He's beaten them in recent games. But, Brent, a lot of it had to do with the play of I don't know. I think he's known as Sonic. And especially, and I'm so glad you brought this up, this is the last time the Minnesota Vikings played the Detroit Lions in Ford Field, and it looked something like this. a masterpiece. Brent, I'm glad you shared that with us. And of course, we love the Texas route touchdown as well. And to commemorate such a thing, just this past week, I got in a special order from our friends at FOCO. This is to commemorate that game, the 4-touchdown game with Jahmyr Gibbs scoring against the Minnesota Vikings. And boy, I wish I could, maybe just put it on my shoulder. Should I put it on my shoulder for the rest of the live stream? What do you think, Brent? No, that would be weird.
Well, as long as you're willing to hold it there, your hand might go to sleep.
Exactly. So, Brent, is Jahmyr Gibbs is our running game one of the keys here? Should we expect a little bit more Demo in the mix? John Morton has talked about how he's failed JMO, and he's going to try to get him the ball more. I disagree personally. I think we get a win, and JMO gets 1 catch for 7 yards. I'm gonna be happy, right? I don't think we go out of our way to force feed someone, because I think that could be a recipe of getting in a trap, right? So, but specifically the run game, are we going to see more mix from Monty in this thing, or are we just going to ride Jahmyr and because he's consistently has just been a dagger for Minnesota?
So a few things to kind of set up the response to that. One is the Lions were on a record pace for points in a season again this year. Last year, 4th all-time leading scoring team in NFL history. Through the first 5 games, first 5 games, Lions were on track to beat that. The last 2 games, we scored 17 and 24 points. So what the Lions did during the bye was go back to the drawing board, which caused Johnny Morton to say, "Hey, I'm failing to do my job here properly," because what I really do believe, Chris, is that the Lions should score more points than what they've been scoring these past couple weeks.
Yeah.
So what John did during the break was take a hard look at why are we not converting on 3rd downs. The Lions have historically had these past few years have had high conversion rates for 3rd and 4th down. And what the situation is going into this game is the Lions offense has not been as prolific as what one would expect it to be with the amount of talent that they have. Gibbs, Laporta, JMO, Amon-Ra. And so what I think we're going to see is the Lions today get back to basics. We're gonna get back to play action. We're gonna run the football. Does that include Montgomery? I heard a number of analysts this week that talked about how the Lions are getting more towards a traditional running back 1, running back 2, because of the success that Gibbs has had. Gibbs is one of the top running backs in the NFL by most accounts, right? Last year, from a fantasy football perspective, the guy was right up there with Saquon. And so what does that mean? Statistically, that means that he can produce. He has the top speed, as we know from that run against the Bucs, 22 plus miles per hour. He is somebody that can run people over. I mean, he is no joke in terms of his athletic skills and abilities. So what I think John's going to continue to do is treat it more of a running back 1, running back 2 type of situation, unless in that rotation that Monty starts to have a big game. I think John would for sure be willing to ride the hot hand, because Monty's had some monster games.
Yeah.
The Chargers game comes to mind last year.
Well, the Ravens game earlier this season.
The Ravens game earlier this year.
Yeah.
So it's not beyond the realm of possibility. But you look at the Falcons, Bijan and Algier. Algier could be a superstar running back in that offense, and as the same as Monty could be in the Lions offense. But when you've got a talent like Bijan and a talent like Jahmyr Gibbs, I think most Lions fans have been clamoring for Gibbs to get more carries and more touches. So in the whole scheme of things, I think that you can expect today to see a heavy dose of Gibbs, of Laporta, St. Brown. Throw in there, some of the deep crossing routes that I know you love, Chris, with JMO, and maybe one or two deep throws to JMO. I think we talked about this last show. The Viking safeties are not the fleetest of foot. Harrison Smith, who's been an absolute fantastic professional for many, many years with the Vikings, and Josh Metellus, another Michigan guy, he is not the most fleet safety in the world. So look for the Lions to take a couple shots, JMO, on those vertical routes, but heavy doses today of those main players, Gibbs, Laporta, and St. Brown.
Yeah, and we've got some things that. Thank you, Mike, for clarifying. O'Neal and Darrisaw are playing today for the Vikes, and so we know that. We've got a lot of folks chiming in the chat. A shout out to the TikTok chat. I'm not able to bring you up here on this live stream. That's something we'll figure it out. Unbreakable Beauty, we appreciate you, Mike Moog or Moog. Thank you for joining that. We've got a prediction there. Mike says Lions are going to be 40-17. Okay, lots of points. Maybe the offense gets back on track. They just, to your point, Brent, have looked a little jilted. Really haven't caught, especially since last year. I think third down is the biggest glaring thing from last season. I mean, I think there's something like 0 for 20 for third and long. Which compared to last year is just is a stark thing. So they've got to get move the sticks on third down. That's a huge deal. Joe Dexter says Goff versus Flores is 78% completion percentage, 278 yards per game, 6 touchdowns against only 2 picks. Thank you for that, Joe. Joe's going to be in here with the stats. These are what Gray Mains are about, man. We're not here spitting out hot takes. We got receipts. So I appreciate you. And of course, Psycho Texas CV 3616. We're just going to call you Psycho. Gibbs is a machine. Yes, he is. And also, a prediction here is that Hutch will have I don't know about if I'm going to say that out loud, but I think he's predicting that Hutch is going to have a lot of love, shall we say, in the backfield. But we appreciate you, Psycho, living up to your handle there. And Joe's got here, and I'll roll this to you, Brett, to get your thoughts on this. Controlling and picking apart the interior. Linebackers and DBs, Goff has mastered it against that blitz-heavy defense. And, Flores is known for blitzing most of the time, right? And so that ball's coming out, that's hitting 14, and getting Saint, going. Saints had some great games against us. And so it's going to be difficult, to your point, to hit JMO on a 75-yard bomb, right? It's going to be a little easier finding a seam or getting him to where he's off in space and can really start flying there. So this may not be one of those games where we're going to have enough time to have JMO take the top off the defense, because that pass rush is going to be getting to it. So it may look like a little more dink and dunk, I'm thinking, when you've got guys that are blitzing off the edge. What do you think?
So, one thing that the film breakdown that we did on the Tampa game shows me is that Tampa has taken a piece of what the Vikings did so well all last year, and that is you start with 8-9 guys on the line of scrimmage, and you don't know where the pressure is going to come from. And just a few minutes ago, we're talking about how the Lions have not been scoring as many points. Well, the NFL is one of those leagues, what do we call it, copycat league, where when somebody sees something work against a team, they're going to replicate what they saw. And I think the Bucks did that last week. Now, you win the game 24-9, pretty comfortable win by all accounts. But the game within the game here, Chris, is that the Vikings are the original artist for that. Mm-hmm. And they are going to put a lot of guys up on the line of scrimmage. I hope as part of what John Morton evaluated this week was why did we not finish drives? Why did we not score more points against the Tampa Bay defense that did that? We had some conversations about this, right? There were 9 guys in the box. Mike, Terry, and I were going nuts. There's 9 guys in the box, 9 guys in the box. Well, the Vikings being the founding fathers, if you will, it's nothing new. The Bears did it in the 80s. They put 9 guys up on the line of scrimmage, and you'd never know where they're coming from. In fact, they usually they would send way more guys than you could possibly cover in many of those cases. But the Lions are going to have to prove that they can defeat a team and be successful against a team who stacks the line of scrimmage like that and backs guys into the their rotates the players back to their positions. And so when the Lions are doing the play action, the advantage that they have is those mid to intermediate routes where the tight end, the JMOs, the crossing routes with Amon-Ra are going to be available to us today. And so I think that's going to be one of the keys is, one, we've got our offensive line intact, protect Goff, and give him time to be able to kind of pick apart those seams that are going to be all over the field against that Vikings defense. Now, we did it in the playoffs last year, and to your point, Gibbs is going to be huge with his speed and playmaking ability and his ability to go one-on-one with the linebackers. I think that bodes well for the Lions today offensively.
Yeah, I think, folks, we've got people that live in Michigan and that cheer for a college team that Aidan Hutchinson played for, and that so did J.J. McCarthy. And so we watched 2 good quarters as an NFL quarterback. We're headed into sort of a situation where you've got a lot of people that know that J.J. McCarthy can be dangerous, hasn't proven it, really. And I know there's going to be a lot of storylines related to his Michigan pedigree. But the numbers aren't pretty. We talked about it earlier, Brent. JJ's 58% completion percentages. He's got more interceptions than touchdowns. He's got 3 picks versus 2 touchdowns. The kid's got poise, though, like I talked about, the championship DNA. He led a comeback win against Chicago, and, Chicago's a better team than we thought they were, right? At the time, we were like, well, it's Chicago, right? But Chicago's proven to be, a better team. He's mobile, so he's got like 50 yards on 7 carries in those 2 starts. But I think Shepard's going to look at, potentially spying JJ. We've done this before. We played many mobile quarterbacks already this season, right? And it could be Campbell, it could be Anzalone that could get these spy assignments to keep McCarthy content. Barnes, yes. We need to force him to beat us from the pocket, not with his legs. And in order to do that, we have somebody that returned last week that actually had a major factor in the game. It was the return of the Mac, Aleem McNeil, and I think having Aleem McNeil back, we know AQM was on the injury report earlier this week, but is starting. So you've got, obviously Hutchinson, hopefully won't trip over his money bag on the way to sacking McCarthy. So with Aleem, how important is that to our pass rush? I mean, we saw how he can wreck the center, how he can just fold that pocket from the inside out, really opens things up for AQM and Hutch, especially if they think they're going to try to chip Hutch the entire time. I mean, who are you going to block, right? I mean, I really feel like, J.J. McCarthy hasn't seen a pass rush like this yet this season, and I think he's especially with the way the offensive line for Minnesota has performed thus far. We talked about, Goff not having a lot of time to throw passes. I think you're going to see a lot of potential Kevin O'Connell small ball here and try to get Justin Jefferson on bubble screens and things like that. Brent, talk about how you feel like the pass rush is going to be a factor today against the former Michigan quarterback.
Well, Mike posted that they've got their starting offensive tackles back.
Right.
That's not insignificant in the scheme of things. The tackles being healthy and protecting J.J. McCarthy is absolutely key number 1 for the Minnesota Vikings today. Now the interior, the interior of their offensive line is pretty good, pretty decent. They have had some rough spots, and I think that's mostly because of all the changes that have had to happen on the offensive line for the Vikings. So we have what I would describe, and we talked about this last show. The Lions are currently third in the NFL in the number of sacks that they have, and so I think what you're going to see is you're going to see pressure up the front. JJ's got nervous feet. He's got nervous feet because of the beatings that he's been taking, and it can make any quarterback unsettled when that happens. One thing that I think you're going to see today is you're going to see, unless they double team Chip Hutch, you're going to see Hutch put a lot of pressure on McCarthy off the edge. So the combination of having a Lee McNeil, DJ Reader, and then Hutch and AQM, it's a pretty formidable front four. So if we can get pressure on McCarthy and bring in some blitzes that create confusion or cause confusion for JJ McCarthy, then I think the Lions will be able to hold their offense in check today. But like I said, I did the analysis in historical context. JJ McCarthy is right in the middle of some of the most elite quarterbacks in the NFL history in terms of his statistics and how they measure up against some of the greats. So, he is a smart guy. He is a hardworking guy, and it might not happen this year, but I think he certainly has the abilities. He's got a strong enough arm to make all the throws, and he's a proven winner at every level that he's ever played in. So my biggest concern is today that he's able to not have pressure on him, and he can use those great receivers. And remember, the Bengals, we started dropping like flies in the second half against the Bengals with our secondary.
Right.
So anything can happen in an NFL game. We have to hope that the Lions today are on their A game, coming off the bye, can get pressure on JJ, can control the game through the play action pass on the offensive side of the ball, and take advantage of special teams and win this thing handily. I mean, that's fully what I expect with the Dan Campbell led team coming, getting healthy and coming off of a bye. I'm trying to find ways to find hope for the Vikings here, and I can't really fathom how they're going to be able to win this game today. I'm sorry.
I'm pulling this up video. Compliments of Colton Pouncey. Shout out to one of the greats. This is a shot of Kirby Joseph during warm-ups wearing a Mario costume for Halloween. Obviously, we know Kirby's out today. He's not, that would be in violation of the Lions uniform or the NFL uniform policy. But I just thought this was, I mean, how long, let us know in the chat, like how long is too long for you to be able to wear a Halloween costume? I mean, obviously, Halloween was a couple of nights ago, yet we still have people that are, I'm sure we're going to have shots all over the NFL of people wearing costumes in the Brent, do you dress up for Halloween? Do you go to Halloween parties dressed up as, I don't know, Calvin Johnson? Like what's your go-to Halloween costume?
I probably haven't dressed up for Halloween since I was maybe 8.
Oh, okay.
8 or 10 maybe.
Yeah.
It's just not something that I've ever really gotten into. I know there's a lot of folks who are huge fans of Halloween.
Sure.
Growing up in South Detroit, Devil's Night was always a big deal in Michigan, the night before Halloween. And I don't know. I mean, I enjoy a good candy bar as much as anybody, but the running from house to house to get candy was never my bag. So Mike said, I do like what Mike said, for those that are big trick-or-treaters or Halloween fans, Monday's the deadline.
I guess, like, if you put it, like, we've got people in our neighborhood that go all out for Halloween. I mean, we were talking like, I mean, there's no how many thousands of dollars they spend on huge skeletons and it took weeks and weeks to get that stuff set up, so it's like, okay, you get a pass for leaving it up for a little while, but like at some point if it's the second week of November and I could still see a witch in your front yard, I mean, I think you know, I don't know. I think it's a little bit too much. Yes, and so Mike Terry's talking about this. So this is I'm originally from Romeo. That's where I grew up in Romeo, Michigan. And yeah, so Tilson Street in Romeo is a big deal, and that has become a really huge thing for Romeo, Michigan. So. And of course, if you folks are still in the chat, I see a ton of people here on TikTok and YouTube and X. Let us know, what's the cutoff for you? And do you still, if you're over the age of 21, do you still put on a Halloween costume every year? I mean, I guess, listen, if you're invited to a Halloween party, you can't show up, Brent, without a costume. You got to put on something, right? I mean, would you be MCDC? If you were invited, here we go, Brent. Now I'm going to admit you haven't dressed up yet, but you're invited to a prestigious Halloween party. You and Crystal are invited to a prestigious Halloween party, and it is costume required. What is your costume? I'm putting you on the spot, my man.
I would put on my cowboy boots and my cowboy hat.
Oh, yeah?
Go as a cowboy.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
I got a really awesome cowboy hat that I've had for quite a while.
Interesting.
And I love country music. Crystal and I go to country music concerts as often as we can.
I'm learning things as the rest of the Gray Mains fam is learning as we go. This I did not know. Okay.
Yeah, Dierks Bentley, Jason Aldean, Luke Bryan. We love to do the like the pre-concert, behind the scenes, private concerts. So being about 5-10 feet from these artists. And listening to their acoustic sessions before the main concert. I love it. Absolutely love it. And so I guess I'd probably do the cowboy gig. You can always, I've got like 10 Lions helmets in my man cave. I could probably, in a Michigan Wolverine helmet, but I could probably go as a football player. I've got tons of Lions and Michigan jerseys.
There you go.
And so, could go as a football player or a cowboy would be my two go-tos, I would imagine.
So we got the chat going on that one. Like people have opinions on this, and my man Joe Dexter, you're cracking me up, dude. We got to have Joe on the show, but Joe says he'd go as the dead spirit of John Kitna, Dante Culpepper, Ty Detmer, Joey Harrington, Charlie Batch, and Mike McMahon. Shout out to Joe Dexter for the Mike McMahon reference. I mean, outstanding. Wait, I've got to do
Where's
this.
that?
There we go. Let's bring in the applause. Outstanding. The dead spirit.
Dan Orlovsky. I don't see him on there.
Oh yeah, with the 11-yard end zone. Orlovsky, listen, Orlovsky's ended up owning that, by the way. I mean, I think he's like, there is probably not many more embarrassing plays than that one, because he was so confidently running out of the back of the end zone. He clearly thought he had 4 or 5 more yards of end zone space.
Yeah. But it's still, I mean, we weren't exactly winners when we were 0-16, but Dan Orlovsky was
and Dan Campbell at tight end, right? Let's not forget. Okay. So so Joe says you can't put Orlovsky on there. He's a UConn legend. Awesome. And here's another thing. And again, thank you, Jim, for your service. A Marine says that it's time to start celebrating the Marine Corps birthday. Absolutely. And so this year marks the 250th Marine Corps birthday and this is, you celebrate from, I guess it's November 10th, which is the official Marine Corps birthday, as I understand it. And you celebrate from November 7th to 11th. Yeah, so get the witches down and start celebrating the Marine Corps birthday, people. We're in America. Or maybe, hey, listen, maybe you're not in America. Maybe you're watching from all over the world. We do get some people that watch and listen from other parts of the, outside of the U.S. But yeah, it's mostly U.S. Folks. But shout out to the Marine Corps birthday there as well. There we go. How about that, Brent? You didn't know this show was going to go in that direction, did you?
No. Mike and I are very proud veterans. We we love our country, and served our country and the Air Force and the Navy. And so represent, I did some time at Army ROTC too back in my first time in college. And so we've almost got everything except the Marines covered, but the Marines are part of the Department of the Navy. So we think we even have that covered.
Nice. All right. So as we're rounding towards game time, we talked about our predictions. I think 8.5 points is a statement spread. I think it's that line just feels, I don't know, it just feels weird. But at home, I mean, obviously, Brent, it's a different team at home. We saw that against Tampa Bay. I know we were favored by fewer points, but I think what we're seeing is a Dan Campbell coached team that when you have a significant spread, they still cover, and sometimes they cover in spades. What comes to mind is, the Tennessee Titans game, the Jaguars game. These were, I think we were 6-8, point favorites in those games, and we ended up, hanging 50 burgers on those teams. I feel pretty confident that, obviously from the prediction that, but there's always, as a historical Lions fan, for years and years and years, it's just that there's a little, they're still going to play the game, right? They're still going to play the football game. The Minnesota Vikings are a well-coached team. KOC knows what he's doing. Yes, JJ maybe would not have been in there if it weren't for the injury to Carson Wentz and the season-ending surgery that he had. But let's put it out there for the chat and also for you, Brent. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being absolutely confident, don't even show up, Minnesota, to 1 being, I think we're going to lose and it's going to be a huge upset. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that the Lions win by more than 8.5 points?
I know that I just searched on how many teams have covered when the spread's 8.5 points. The bookies know what they're doing. Vegas knows what they're doing in terms of the spread. Their goal being 50-50, right? 50% of the time they're hitting the mark. And 48% of games the teams cover the spread of 8.5 points. So they're operating in a pretty good rough order of magnitude, trying to hit their goal of 50-50. But in this particular case, the thing that makes me a little uneasy is the return of the offensive lineman for the Vikings. That's really where if McCarthy can have the time to sit back in the pocket and throw the football, that's where they have a fighting chance. I just don't see that happening. So if I were to say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say probably 7, that I'm comfortable that the Lions would cover 7 or maybe 8. But it's still the NFL, and these are professionals, and you have to respect your opponent. As Dan always says, you got to respect the game and respect your opponent. And so in this particular case, I think the Lions have a reasonable chance of beating the spread. So, for those of you that are gamblers, I think, there's a 50-50 chance that you can win. Going with the Vegas target of 50-50. But I'd have a little bit greater confidence that the Lions will cover the spread than the 50-50 that the NFL or that the folks in Vegas are shooting for.
God, I thought you'd be, since you're the chief intelligence officer of Lions Optimism, that you'd be higher than that. Because I'm actually at an 8. I believe, and I'd love to hear from the chat as well. I believe Brian Branch is going to be a huge factor today. I do believe that. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder, like we talked about. And yeah, I think he's gaining a reputation where the refs are probably not going to give him the benefit of the doubt on a lot of plays. But I think he's got something to prove today. I think Aidan Hutchinson has something to prove today that when you get $140 million guaranteed as a defensive end, He's going to show it, and I don't doubt that he ever wouldn't, even if he wasn't paid. That Aidan Hutchinson, and I think McNeil. I think it's one of those games where our defense is really going to show up very well. We talk about our linebacking core and just how great they've played this season. Jack Campbell starting to show like he should be in the mix for being an All-Pro. Anzalone, even with what's going on with his contract, probably not seeing him back, just playing his tail off. And I just feel like from a defensive perspective, as long as we keep Terry on, hopefully we don't get one of those plays from Terrion Arnold. We all know what we're talking about there. I don't know if McCarthy's going to have much of a chance in that pocket, and with McNeil wrecking the inside of that, I think defensively we're really going to do that, and I think Goff and our running game is going to play a little keep away too. So I think we're going to control the ball and really just put the vice grips on that team. This isn't going to be one of those games where it's like we can score a 50 burger. I think we're going to have fewer drives because we're going to be more controlling, and maybe we get a few turnovers from the Vikings throughout this. So my confidence is at an 8. But I'd love to know from the chat. Let us know what your thoughts are. Jim's chiming in and says his confidence is a 10. Now this is coming from a Commanders fan, so and then it looks like Mike Terry says 7. Wow, I can't believe I'm the most confident of that.
Well, Chris, just to quibble a little bit, we're talking about the spread. The win. If you were to ask me who's going to win the game, I'd be closer to 10 than I would 7. But these division games, teams can step up and in these tough division games, and the Vikings have lost 5 in a row and 6 of 7 to the Detroit Lions. So what does that tell me? The Lions have got their number. The Lions have every reason to have confidence going into this game. But as Mike said in the chat here, the Justin Jefferson is the X factor for the Vikings. And I'll add to that the offensive line and J.J. McCarthy. Those are what we've been talking about as key factors for the game. JJ would love to go off and get one of his 179-yard games against the Lions today. I just don't think JJ McCarthy is at a point in his career yet where that's going to happen. And if their offensive line doesn't hold up, he may be more worried about getting injured again than JJ going off for a lot of yards and a touchdown or two. And remember, if you bring the chart back up on the game predictions, I predicted the Lions to win 38-9. So if you're talking about 7 out of 10 on the cover, 7 out of 10 is pretty good because Vegas is looking at 50-50, right? So I'm 20 points over what Vegas is saying that they want for this. And oh, by the way, who's in first place? I'm in first place, 6-1.
Well, how come Dan has himself over you? Like, how did he do? Like, I'm telling you, he's cooking these numbers, man. Like, what is he's 5-2. Are we not going by record? But apparently it's like tiebreaker and points.
I'm 6-1.
Yeah,
right,
like,
but I'm 6-1.
But why does he have him over you? Did he just I don't understand. Listen, I'm in last place.
It has to do with the amount of points. It has to do with the amount of points. But the reason I brought it up was just to poke fun a little bit at the at the fact that Dan was in first place because he's not.
Speaking of poking fun, if you're at the game today, this is what you're getting. And there's a lot of people posting this on X and all over the place. This Amon-Ra St. Brown bobblehead, almost as cool as my Jahmyr Gibbs 4-touchdown game commemorate bobblehead. No, I'm not. I'm kidding. This Amon-Ra headstand Selly bobblehead is amazing, and that's if I get 2 of them because the folks that I gave the tickets to today we're going to pick me up at least one. Hopefully they can get me a couple of these. I'll share one with you. Awesome. Say, man, there's 2 things we learned today. Not only is Brent generous, but he's a huge country music fan and wants to dress up like a cowboy. So let us know in the chat if you want Brent to show up as a cowboy on Tuesday night for the live stream. Wanda, who shows up every Tuesday night, we appreciate you showing up. She's got an 8. See, Wanda, you're my people. That's exactly the number that I'm at. So I don't feel alone now. Wanda, you're joining me with the optimistic viewpoint of an 8. And yes, let's not forget who the backup quarterback is. The Minnesota Golden Gopher legend, Max Brosmer, is the backup quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. So I think there's a lot of people here today that didn't even know that name. He's listen, I don't think he's bad, but that is the backup quarterback. So in case there is some sort of injury or JJ's ankle or something happens to where he can't go, that's who the Lions will be going with or going against, and the Vikings will be going the legend, the Golden Gopher, Max Brosmer.
It reminds me of the Water Boy when they were trying to find who they're going to kick the onside kick to, that's what Max looked like the other night when Wentz was getting demolished. Max's face was like, I'm in. I might have to go in the game. So he better hope that JJ stays healthy today. Now, look, as we've only got a couple minutes left, and what I do want to just hit on very quickly is this game starts a run of games for the Lions that are going to decide who is real and who's not real.
That's right. And
MCDC said it in his press conference this week. And by the way, Salute to Service Month is starting. Chris, you talked about the Marine Corps birthday. I will say this: thanks to all the men and women who are on the line here and who listen to this podcast post production. But thanks for the service of all the men and women that are listening to this.
Here.
I got a really great Salute to Service shirt that I'm going to wear on our show. And by the way, I think we're going to do the show on Wednesday. So,
you know what? You're right. Thank you. Breaking news, scheduling update. We're going Wednesday. I forgot about that. Yeah, we can't go Tuesday. But we're gonna, for the people, we need to make sure we got the right people here. So Wednesday night we're gonna go live. And are we doing 7 p.m. Eastern? I can't remember.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think the time's the same. It's just going to be Wednesday instead of Tuesday.
You think the producer would have his act together on those dates, but I do.
Well, I hate to do that because I know, one of the things that I look forward to is regular schedule and being consistent but looking ahead at these games. Look at this today. Let's take care of business. Ford Field, get rocking when JJ's in the huddle, trying to make the play calls in the huddle. When they get to the line of scrimmage, show him a nice Ford Field welcome back to Michigan. And then Tuesday, we're going to talk a lot about these next couple games. The Washington Commanders, who I think we may have some bone to pick with the Washington Commanders after last year's playoff game. We may have something to some extra motivation for our trip to Washington, D.C. And then, of course, what many people are calling the potential NFC Championship game. The Philadelphia Eagles, they continue to pull additional players onto their roster through trades. The former Pro Bowl cornerback they acquired this week. There's rumors that they're looking to make some other trades. And we haven't hit on this, but to give you folks a sense of what we're going to talk about on Wednesday, given that the trade deadline is Tuesday, and thanks, Mike, for that. Really, really great show we'll have on Wednesday talking about, that Commanders game. And I still want to call them the Redskins. I still have a hard time.
You talk to Jim Fuse and he'll tell you that he still wants to call them that too. So yeah. And I think a lot of Washington fans want to, they want to be considerate to the reasoning, but they also are like, this is the team. Like, this was my team. Imagine if somebody said that you had to change the Lions name for whatever reason. It'd be difficult. It'd be really difficult to something completely different. So So I get it. Yeah, this schedule, Brent, it's an excellent breakdown. The one other thing I'll notice too is obviously that we're playing a good Commanders team. I know that they're a little bit down, a little bit dinged up, but you can bet that they're going to be ready. Obviously, the Eagles game is huge. And there's going to be a lot of eyes on that Sunday night game. Can't look past the Giants, right? But this is what I'm noticing here is the Giants starts a 3-game stint at home, right? So we've got the Giants at home at Ford Field. We're playing the very next Thursday on Thanksgiving, which you can't look past the Giants. That'll be a trap game because, looking at the Packers, which is obviously a monstrous game for us on Thanksgiving. But we stay in Detroit. We get almost a mini bye week, right? And so the following game will be against the Cowboys, and that game is at Ford Field as well. So that's something to look at. And, of course, the Rams are, and here's Jim. I knew he would chime in. Always Redskins. And Joe Dexter, thanks again, you guys, for hanging out this entire time. Is it required to play Matthew Stafford once or twice a year? Yeah. I mean, it just seems like it, right? And is the NFL looking at ratings going, let's just make sure that the Lions play the Rams? It does feel like it. And I kind of feel like we might see him again. More, if we play the Rams twice a year, that means that we're playing them in the playoffs. So it almost seems like it's required that we see Matthew Stafford in that whole storyline. Hasn't had very good success against us, though, has he?
No, and look, the Eagles, the Redskins, we'll call them for sake of making sure Jim's happy.
Yeah.
The Packers, Cowboys, Rams. Those are all games against teams that very easily could be playoff previews, right?
Right.
And so, number one, they're NFC games. So tiebreakers are going to be critical during that run. Winning those games are going to be critical. And the Packers don't have the most difficult schedule in the world. And so we can't let them get out of reach by letting down on days like today where
Right.
you gotta lay wood. You've got to win against the Minnesota Vikings and stay within striking distance of the Packers, knowing how easy their schedule is.
Good stuff,
I think
Brent.
they play the Panthers.
Good stuff as always. Thanks for breaking it down like you always do, DBC. And we want to thank Mike Terry for joining us, the brains behind the brawn, backstage with us, providing all the details. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the game. And we're gonna break down that game on Wednesday night this week for Lions Gray Mains. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Wanda. All the folks that have been in. There's a ton of people here in the chat. Psycho, thanks for making it a little awkward at times, but we do appreciate you joining us. Folks, enjoy the game, and as always, go Lions.
Go Lions.
Busted outside left. Jameer down to the 10. Jameer to the 5. Jameer to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Hand off Berry. Skirts to the left side. Breaks the tackle. And he will take it in. Touchdown!
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. That's